Okay. So, hello, welcome everyone. So today we are, by now we have done a kind of lot of study around the Azure databases and different type of options. So first we discussed in few classes about the database storage options, and then we started having a discussion around the database, the storage option, the database store, and then we started having discussion around the Azure database and analytics services. In the during that we discussed about the Cosmos DB and its different APIs, its multi-model functions, which is based on key value column, column based model, and then the document based model and the graph model. Then we discussed about that SQL and MongoDB are falling under the document model. Cassandra is for columnar model. Gremlin for graph model. And the table is the key value model. Then we discussed about how we can have the other type of databases, which is like the SQL database, Azure SQL DB, MySQL, and its feature. Why a kind of comparison between the NoSQL and SQL when we talk about the Cosmos DB and the SQL DB. So when we are talking about say SQL DB, we discussed about three type of DB. One is MySQL, and then we its orchestration we also discussed, that it connect with the Azure resource manager and then Azure database service platform, and then it connects to the SQL instance. And then we discussed about within the SQL, we discussed about what? We discussed about MySQL, Azure, Azure SQL. Another term of the MySQL is Azure SQL in case of cloud. Second, we discussed about the Azure SQL managed instance. We discussed about the difference between the Azure SQL and Azure SQL managed instance. We discussed about in case of migration, how easy it is. Then in the next SQL category, after Azure SQL managed instance, what we discussed about the PostgreDB. In the PostgreDB, we discussed about the difference between the SQL and PostgreDB. We discussed about the deployment model types of SQLDB, which is like the primary deployment model. So we discussed about single server model. We discussed about hyperscale or Citus model. Then we discussed, so these are the things we discussed in this chapter. And now we are going to discuss about the big data and analytics. So today, the first thing which we are going to discuss about the big data and analytics. Okay, what is big data? Any idea or anything which you can think of that yes, this is the big data? Any example which you can give? What is big data? Am I audible? I can see now we have 8 participants, and I think few will also join. So okay, so let us talk about the big data. Okay, So, like we discussed in some of the previous classes, like the data comes in different forms and format, right? We talk about the big data. For example, if you are talking about, say, Facebook, we talked about Instagram. So when we are talking about this type of data, which is in any form, right? I mean, and the form is not decided, neither the format is decided. So we are referring to the large volume of data. So data is collected from, say, for example, your GPS sensor. Data is collected from satellites. Data is collected from weather forecasting system. Data is collected from different social media platforms. Data is collected from uh, you know several different say, for example, IoT devices. So people are using, say, Samsung watches, and to track and monitor their health. So they are using those systems. They are using systems to monitor the security of their homes. They are using, in case if for a company's data, when people into the system, so lot of at that time data also gets generated. So likewise, data is coming from all different sources, which which nobody can predict. Uh, that okay, I mean, what could be the, what could be different data formats and data forms, right? It could be sometimes in the in the form of numbers, sometimes it is in the form of text, sometimes it is form of images, sometimes it is form of music, sometimes it is form of uh, you know various channels, messages, right? So when several different type of data is coming, then how we will be able to deal with that type of data, that is where we think about the big data. This amount of data become increasingly hard to make sense of, and to base and to decide something based on. So why we need data? We need data to make decision. We need data to for example, in case if you are purchasing something, um, so and you are purchasing from different websites, not one website. So when you do the purchase, so based on your purchase, or based on your like or dislike, based on your trend or the footprint on the internet, people want to give you the best suitable option, or the best suitable purchase options, or the best suitable material which you could be interested for. So you might have noticed that when you are searching something on say uh, Google, or maybe say YouTube, or maybe say on a platform like Flipkart, um, or any other platform, you might have seen that based on your trend of purchase, or based on your trend of the visit of the data, or a particular file, or based on your choice, what you are watching on YouTube, accordingly, next time when you visit, it automatically shows you some content related to that. So how it monitors that? What is your like, and what are your dislikes? Based on your likes and dislikes, it or based on your navigation pattern, based on what you watched earlier, based on that, it gives you your, I mean, the option which you may like. So such type of decisions, in case if you want to make, you definitely need to process the data of each and every individual and think of it, say, um, there are 100,000 crores of people around the world, those who are accessing data, those who are doing something on the internet, those who are traveling across different location and generating the GPS data, those who are sending their pics and photographs and whatnot on different social media platform, uh, to say that yes, either they enjoyed or not. And based on whatever you share on the internet in any form, uh, somebody makes the decision, somebody process those data based on their marketing strategy and your likes and dislikes and your visiting pattern, and then they show you that. So this is where the big data comes into the picture. This amount of the data become increasingly hard. Why it is hard? Because if it is, I mean, if you know the form and format, perhaps you will be able to process it. For example, if you know that the data are systematic, structured data, you can put it on the SQL, you can process it. If you think that, yes, the data is in particular, say, um, particular format, for example, graph, node and edges form, then you may be able to use, say, Gremlin, and you can process it. But when you don't know, in every other minute, the kind of data which you are getting is of different type and patterns, then it is becoming hard to analyze that. And this is a major challenge even today. Even people are trying to put okay. So the volume are, in such case, the volume of the data is so large that traditional form of processing and analysis are no longer appropriate. Now, the open source cluster technology have been developed over time to try to deal with these large data set. And the Microsoft's, Azure support a broad range of technology and services to provide the big data analytics solution, including various type of options which Azure has, such as the first option which we are going to discuss is Azure Synapse Analysis, Azure Synapse Analytics. So Azure Synapse Analytics is the one primary solution by Azure, which gives you different type of options. Now let us understand about Azure Synapse Analysis, Analytics. So Azure Synapse is an enterprise analytics services, and that accelerate time to insight across the data warehouse and the big data system. So there are two type of solution which it provides. One is the data warehouse solution, and one is the big data solution. Okay, so one is the data warehouse solution, and next is the big data solution. Azure Synapse bring together the best of SQL technology used in enterprise data warehousing and Spark technology used for big data. So two things. One is the SQL, because anyways SQL technology is anyways proven technology. So in case if we are using the data warehousing solution, then it goes for the SQL solution. In case if we are going for say big data solution, then it goes for the Spark technology. Okay. Now, when we are talking about say Spark technology, and next is okay. So other than the SQL and the Spark technology, the third thing which which comes is for the analytic services, and that analytic services is known as the data explorer for to log and time analytics. Okay, so one another technology which it use is data explorer. Okay, that is for the analytics. So and few more like the pipelines is for data integration and ETL. So data explorer is for is to do the logging and time series analysis. Okay, so in case if you are interested for logging and time series analytics, and pipelines is for ETL and ETL analysis. To perform the ETL operation. Okay, and then the deep integration with the Azure services like Power BI, Cosmos DB, Azure ML. So it does with the help of this, you will be able to then do the deep integration with other Azure services such as the Power BI, Cosmos DB, and Azure ML. Now, here it provides you the Azure, Synapse SQL is a distributed query language for TSQL that enable you for the data warehousing and data virtualization scenarios. Okay, and it extends the TSQL to address streaming and machine learning scenarios. So basically, Synapse SQL is a distributed query language. Okay, so this is Synapse SQL is a distributed query language. It is based on the distributed query language. And when I'm saying distributed query language, that means it uses a little different form of SQL, which is known as the TSQL. Okay, that is the transactional SQL, and thereby it supports both the data warehousing solution and then data virtualization scenarios. Okay, so the data warehousing solution and data virtualization scenarios that extends the TSQL to address the streaming and machine learning scenarios. Gradually, we will go for machine learning, but right now we need to understand that the data warehousing and the data virtualization scenarios that extends TSQL to address streaming and machine learning scenarios. Now, Synapse SQL offer both serverless and dedicated resources model. That means that we, earlier we discussed about the serverless model, right? What is the serverless model? And then it also provides you the dedicated resource model. Okay. Similarly, it provides you the built-in streaming capabilities to land data from cloud data sources into SQL table. Then it also helps you to integrate AI with SQL by using the machine learning models. Okay, to score data using the TSQL predict functions. Okay, so a couple of things. Let us divide it to Synapse SQL. Okay, when I'm talking about the SQL, so this is not. I mean, this is not a normal type of SQL. It is the TSQL. And it so I mean, so this type of SQL, which is which is known as Synapse SQL, I should be writing here rather than simple SQL. It is a Synapse SQL. This Synapse SQL help you for, I mean, it comes in both the serverless model and dedicated model. It also comes for and what it does is it process the data which is which is coming in the in the big data forms, and it process them into the it help you to process them into the SQL tables. So it creates a dedicated SQL pool to create to reserve a processing power for data stories, or sorry for data stored in the SQL tables. Next is Apache Spark technology. Apache Spark for Apache Synapses deeply and seamlessly integrate Apache Spark, the most popular open source big data engine used for data preparation and data engineering and ETL and machine learning. So this is, it helps you to integrate the Apache Spark with Azure Synapse. Apache Spark is a technology which is open source, and the Azure Synapses is a Azure based model, right? And it allows you to integrate with the help of Azure Synapses, you will be able to integrate your any of the any of your Azure solution with Apache Spark, and thereby it gives you a lot of strength and capabilities with the help of which you will be able to do your database analytics, and you will also be able to use your traditional ETL processing and the advanced machine learning. So which means that with the help of Apache Synapses, you will be able to do two things. One is the traditional technologies like the ETL and and the traditional mechanism of managing data, like for with the help of a traditional SQL, and also the new and upcoming technologies like machine learning and the big data. Those things you will be able to manage together with the help of Apache Synapses, because Apache Synapses gives you an integration with Apache Spark. Okay, and Apache Spark is an open source big data engine, which is a very popular big data engine that that will help you to do a lot of things. So it allows you with the help of Azure Synapses, it allows you to do the things in a heterogeneous manner, like different things together. So all around data, whether you are processing the data in the form of ETL, whether you are processing the data in the form of machine learning, whether you are processing the data in the form of databases, whether you are processing the data in the form of data warehousing, whether you are processing your data in a in a simplified in a simple form, or whether you are processing the data in a complex the big data form. So it helps you to deal with all different type of things. And how it happens? It happens because the Azure Synapse has a deep integration with Azure, deep integration is with Apache Spark. Okay, so Azure Synapse deep integration with Apache Spark. So Apache Spark is your open source, and this is a proprietary model, Azure Synapse from Azure. And since both of these have a deep integration together, so therefore they are able to handle different things together. Okay. Then these are the further division of the technology, which is the data explorer to log and time series analytics, and the pipeline is for ETL. So it's a kind of new name, because here you need to process not only the data, you are extracting the data from your big data, and you are doing the ETL, which is extract, transform, and load. And then you process your data and put it in a systematic form in a data warehousing system, right? And then, so with the help of because of the Azure provides this deep integration with Apache Spark and the Azure technologies, so thereby you will be able to um, do the best. You will be able to process the things in the best form, either by using the traditional technology or by using the upcoming technologies. Next, we will discuss about Azure HD Insight. So Azure HD Insight is a fully managed open source analytics services for enterprise. When we are saying fully managed open source, so this is the services which is provided by the Microsoft, but still it is fully managed and open source. Okay, for and it is a cloud. It's a cloud. The Azure HD Insight is a cloud-based service which helps you, to do a lot of things, right? You can use here different type of open source framework, such as Apache Spark, which we just had a glance over, then Apache Hadoop, Apache Kafka, Apache HBase, Apache Storm, and the machine learning services. So if you want to integrate several different open source framework, and then you wanted to create a cluster type, okay, if you wanted to handle different type of open source framework, and then you wanted to create the create clusters using different type of technology, then you will be able to use Azure HD Insight. So what it does, it run popular open source framework, including Apache Spark. It run popular open source framework. What all frameworks? It supports Apache Hadoop. It supports Spark, which is Apache Spark. It supports Hive. It supports Kafka. it supports, likewise, it supports many. Okay. So, and that it supports using, Azure HD Insight. Yeah, I mean, which is a customizable enterprise grade service for open source analytics. So from different type of, open source analytics, it supports the enterprise grade customizable services. And you will be able to process the massive amount of data and get all the benefit of the broad open source project ecosystem, right? So, when your need is to do the when your need is to process the amount of the massive amount of data and get all the benefits from different open source product, then you will be able to think for the Azure HD Insight. So with the help of so you have like so too many out there, like the Spark, like the Hive, like the Apache Kafka, like the Apache Storm, like the Hadoop, like the SQL, like the Apache Zookeeper. Then so like that. You will be so batch jobs. See, the concept of the batch job is when you do when you pile up the things and when you process them together, right? That is what the batch job does. So any of the batch, so normally all the type of batch jobs are being done, and that depends on different type of system. For example, if you have the SaaS based system, right? So you may be having a different technology, but certainly when we are processing the data in the big data form, you process a massive amount of data, and that you do in different types, including the batch jobs, but not only batch jobs, but also using, say, parallel processing. So you process your data at a very significant rate, right? In the batch job, what we do, traditionally is we pile up the data and then we process it at a particular period of time. So we use the scheduler, and based on the scheduler, based on the scheduling technology, we process the data in the form of batch. So first we collect the data and then we process the data in a certain form. And when we collect the data, not necessarily that, okay, whatever be the type of data, maybe first we are segregating the data, that okay, this batch is of this type of data, and then we put a scheduler and we process the data. But here the need is something different. Here the need is that you are getting the data at a massive rate, right? And in a different forms. So it will be very difficult that if you wait and then do the thing. So normally you try to do the things in the parallel processing and multi-threading form, where you continuously keep on processing thousands and thousands of data together. Okay, so therefore this technology is little different than the traditional technology. So therefore I mentioned that it supports you to process the massive amount of data. And some of the example which I have given is you will be able to process the data using Hadoop. Hadoop is a complete system for the big data analysis. Spark is a different system altogether for big data analysis. Hive, Kafka, Zookeeper, like this. So these are different technology which you use for to process your data, right? So, and with the help of Azure HD Insight, you will be able to process these data, say Storm. Okay, so most of these are like the integration from the Apache, but yes, it helps you to I mean the process data in a several different form. For example, if you are having, if your data is coming in the form of say log, so log is unstructured. Suppose your data is coming in the form of media, so media is again unstructured. If your data is coming in the form of files, now what type of file it is, we don't know. So this is unstructured. Then suppose we are getting the data in the form of the business or the custom apps, which is a kind of structured data, because business normally have the structured data. All this data goes to the data factory. Then from data factory, it goes to say the data lake storage. From data lake storage, it processes the data in the Hadoop or by using the Spark within the framework of HD Insight. Okay, so you are processing the data from from different sources. It goes to the data factory, then it goes to the data lake store, and from data lake storage, then it processes the data in the in the Hadoop or the Spark. So build your data lake through seamless integration with Azure data storage solution and services, including say Apache Synapse and Azure Synapse Analytics, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Data Lake Storage, Azure Blob Storage, Azure Event Hubs, Azure Data Factory, right? So there are several different options which Azure provides based on the need, and with the help of which you will be able to control cost by choosing from a wide variety of the virtual machines by leveraging load or schedule based auto scaling feature. So you can think of like how, how many different type of services Azure provide and how you will be able to process the data. So let me just try a different tool, and let me know in case if you are able to see that. Um, or I think it is taking some time. So let us use in our next class. So I was just thinking how better we will be able to draw our pictures. Mm, okay, so it is taking time, so I don't want to waste my time. Right now, we will do it in the next class, and then you tell me that if it is visible or not. Okay. Okay. So by now we understood that a kind of introduction for Azure HD Insight. So and now we understand that how HD Azure HD Insights is helping us, and now we also understand how Azure Synapse Analytics helps us. So Azure Synapse Azure Synapse analysis was previously known. Previously was also termed as termed was Azure SQL Data Warehouse, but now they have changed it to Azure Synapse and analytics. Earlier, the previous name of the Azure Synapse analysis, Azure Synapse Analytics was Azure SQL Data Warehouse, because it supports. Because it is based on the the SQL processing, and is a limitless analytics services that brings together enterprise data warehousing and big data analytics together. So as I told you, that it gives you a kind of option to mix the two things together. One is the traditional data warehousing system, and the latest, the big data, and big data analytics solution. So thereby it was, since it was a kind of combination of both, so the name was not appropriate. If the earlier name was not that appropriate, and therefore Azure changed the name of this service to Azure Synapse and analytics, because it provides you the limitless analytics services. Okay, and now we are going for okay, and then we saw Azure HD Insight. So Azure HD Insight is only dedicated for open source technology. So whether it, there are different type of technologies. It handles like the Spark, Hadoop, Kafka, HBase, Storm, and many more, right? So and with the help of it, you will be able to deal with not only the ETL, not only the not only the ETL and data warehousing, but you will also be able to deal with the machine learning and IoTs. Now, next we will discuss about the Azure Databricks. So what is Azure Databricks? Azure Databricks helps you unlock insight from all your data and build artificial intelligence, intelligent solution. You can set up your Azure Spark environment in minutes, and then auto scale and collaborate on shared projects, right, in an interactive workspace. So Azure Database support several different type of things, such as the Python, Scala, R, Java, SQL, as well as the data science framework and libraries such as TensorFlow, PyTorch, Scikit-learn, and all those things. So the Azure Database is basically a kind of solution which helps you to bring the insight from all your data and build artificial intelligence solution. So if you wanted to go for the AI solution, then, and if your objective is to do, to bring the insight for different insight from all your different data and build artificial intelligence solution, then the solution would be, say, the Databricks. Okay, now it's with the help of Azure Databricks, it supports all different type of languages such as Python, Scala, R, traditional Java. Okay, now so with the help of your Azure Databricks, you will be able to process several different type of things, and thereby you will be able to do the reliable data engineering, right? And you will be able to bring the analytics of from your different type of data. You will be able to collaborate your several data science projects. You will be able to do the things based on the open source technology such as Apache Spark, right? And so Azure Database provide you the latest version of the Apache Spark and allow you to seamlessly integrate with open source libraries. Spin up, different clusters and build quickly in a fully managed Apache Spark environment with a global scale and availability of Azure. So clusters are set up and configured and fine-tuned to ensure reliable. To ensure the reliability and the performance without the need for monitoring. So, thereby it helps you to improve the total cost of ownership. So, in case if you wanted to create a solution within the Microsoft Azure, wherein which you wanted to create different type of clusters, and which can help you to fine tune your data processing and reliability, then you are going for the Apache Databricks. Sorry, the Azure Databricks. So Azure Databricks is a nice solution in case if you wanted to do the analytics. Right? So the key services what it provides are, what are the key services it provides? It provides optimized Spark engine. Next, it provides the machine learning models such as the PyTorch, TensorFlow, etc. Then it provides different choice of languages, which are the traditional and the new ones. Whatever you wanted to use, you will be able to use it. Use that. So in the traditional, that like the Java and the .NET, and and in the new, now like we have the Python, like we have the Spark SQL, like we have the Scala and all, right? And then it also provides you several different type of notebooks, collaborative notebooks. So with the help of collaborative notebook, you will be able to quickly access and explore the data and find and share the new insight and the build, you will be able to build the model collaboratively with different type of languages. Then you will be able to use enterprise grade security. So even if you are processing the data using different type of languages, that does not mean that you need to compromise on the security, because the most difficult thing which comes in the picture when you are processing the data or when you're doing anything with different type of languages is the security, because your technology do not do the handshake, your protocols do not do the handshake properly, your and thereby you will be able to it will be easier to fall in the trap of different type of holes which your hackers can utilize. So to avoid that, that thing to happen, you will be able to use the Azure Databricks. So that also help you. Even if you are using different technologies and different different languages, you still will be able to enjoy the enterprise grade security. right? So that is about the database. Then Azure Data Lake. Azure Data Lake Analytics. What is the use of it? Okay, so Azure Data Lake Analytics is an on-demand analytics job service that simplifies the business. Instead of deploying, configuring, tuning hardware, you write queries to transform your data and extract valuable insight. Okay, so basically, with the help of data lake, the Azure Data Lake helps you for analytic. To do the on-demand analytic job services. So, like the HD Synapse Analytics, which was also a kind of analytic services. Similar to that, the Azure Data Lake also helps you to do the on-demand analytic. But Azure Synapse was like, the objective of Azure Synapse was different than Azure Data Lake, and we will discuss how it is. Okay. So here the objective is that instead of configuring, instead of that you deploy and configure and tune your hardware, rather than you write queries to transform your data and extract valuable insight. Okay, so there are two ways that nowadays, for example, entire your Azure capabilities. As we know that earlier we have been using like the virtual machines. Sorry, we have been using the hardware to we purchase the hardware like the laptop, like the server, like the different machines, and we were supposed to configure them. Now we don't need a hardware. What we need is we just need a kind of virtualized machine. Virtualized machine is a software version of that hardware capability. The hardware is, slowly the industry is moving from putting a dedicated hardware for something, rather than we are moving towards putting the software within within a generalized hardware, so that the same hardware, the same resources of the hardware can be utilized in several different ways. That is the idea behind moving from dedicated hardware to the software as a service, right? So now, for example, instead of creating a machine or instead of purchasing a server, we just purchase a laptop and an internet connection, and then we put the things in the cloud, and then we create our virtual machines, and those virtual machines we use similar to, as if we have purchased a server. Similar to that, instead of putting the services, or instead of deploying the hardware and configuring them to do the analytics jobs, instead of that you are writing queries with the help of which, or you are writing code and queries with the help of which you will be able to transform your data and extract valuable insight. Okay, so that is where your data lakes comes in the picture. Okay, now the data lakes. So with the help of data lakes, you will be easily deploy and run massive parallel data data transformation and processing programs. And it use again different type of languages, including the SQL, Python, R, .NET, like that. Okay, and it starts in the in case if you are using the Azure data lakes, it starts in seconds and scale instantly. Pay per job option. Process big data jobs in seconds with Azure Data Lake Analytics. There is no infrastructure is needed. You don't need to worry about the infrastructure or hardware. You just need to use the data lake, and with the help of data lake, you will be able to process your data in a very fast manner. And then, so there is no infrastructure to worry about, because there are no servers. There are, even there are no virtual machines or clusters to wait for. Okay, and you will be able to manage them without any server, without any virtual machine, without any cluster. Okay, instantly you will be able to scale and process process your data with the help of Azure Data Lake. Okay, and so this Azure Data Lake uses a different type of query language, which is known as the USQL. So now the Azure is changing its SQL query languages, or giving a different power to the SQL query languages, the language in the form of, say, TSQL, which is transactional SQL, and then the USQL, okay, which is even I don't know the full form of it, but it provides you a technology with the help of which you will be able to process your big data services, right? So normally your SQL do not support that, but with the help of USQL, you will be able to process your big data solutions. So thereby this Azure data lake, and your Azure data lake do not need a kind of your virtual machines to set up, or your clusters to set up, or your anything. You just adopt the Azure lake, and with the help of Azure Lake, you will be able to process your data. And thereby it says that it helps you for your on-demand analytics. Okay, so without hardware, without VM, without clusters, you can process your data. You can process large amount of data in seconds. So how interesting it is that, and how your your services are moving, at a such moving at such a rapid rate, that you don't you think of it and you will have a solution. Whether your interest is to process different, to work on a different type of languages, you have the solution using Azure Databricks. You wanted to go for the machine learning, and you wanted to also adopt your traditional things, you have your Azure Databricks and also your Azure Synapse analytics. Similar to that, if you wanted to work on different type of open source technology, then you have your Azure HD Insight. In case if you wanted to process your data at a very fast rate, without having any, without setting up any cluster, without setting up any hardware, without doing the much of the configuration, without even deploying the new hardware, you will be able to use data lake. and that too in a cost-effective manner. Okay, let us do something today. So first of all, by now, what all things we have done? What all things you, okay. So what all things we have covered so far? And I need response from you. Are you with me? Okay. So tell me, let us quickly just write down all the things which we have covered so far. Okay. Based on your memory. So this is your memory test. Oh, okay. We are okay. So we are at the 1 o'clock. Okay, okay. Okay, so no worries. Then we will do it maybe in our next class. But in the next class, be ready and tell me what all things we have covered so far in our different classes. Okay, before you leave. Good. Everyone. Okay. So just I need that. Okay, what all things we have covered, and next time we will be joining a little early. Okay, maybe say 5 minutes early, 7 minutes early, so that we will be able to jot down all the things. Okay, based on your memory. Okay then. So is it good, Arpita? Parvez, Ravi, Subhashri, Swagata? Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Parvez. Thank you, Subhashri. Swagata, are you with me? Arpita, are you with me? Okay. Thank you so much. So we will meet on Monday then.